Well, hello and welcome to Fully Charged. Now, I have to say I'm really excited about this. I'm driving the new 2018 40 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf. We're just leaving ITER, which is a research and development location on the island of Tenerife. It's a beautiful, sunny and very windy day. We're just driving through a big pile of wind turbines that are all spinning like mad. They have produced all the electricity that we're using today. This car is powered by 100% renewable electricity. What I can do now is one pedal driving, so the e-pedal they call it. So I think this is going to become a standard feature in all electric cars. It makes so much sense that you drive along with your foot on the accelerator, the throttle, the go faster pedal. And now I'm going to switch on e-pedal driving, and instantly the whole feeling of the car changes. Because if I take my foot off the throttle, it will literally come to a stop. And if I accelerate again, it will do it. But when I take my foot off the throttle a little bit, like there's a truck about to overtake us and I'm going to take my foot off the throttle, there's no one behind us, and you will think that I'm applying the brake, but I'm really not. Yeah, it's really slowing down. You can see God, that's incredible. So it feels like you got the brakes on, but I didn't touch the brakes. I'm just controlling the speed of the car with one pedal. You've got to take your hat off to Nissan. They really were the first company to mass produce built from the ground up electric vehicles. Renault followed close behind with the Zoe, but really the Leaf has been the most successful electric car on the roads. They've sold over 300,000 around the world. It counts for 42% of all electric car sales in the UK. Now they've really slogged away pushing the electric car concept and to a very sceptical public. The way the Leaf was received initially was very negative, but it's gradually caught on, and more people have had a go in them, more and more people have driven them, and they really enjoy driving them. They've worked out fairly rapidly how much cheaper it is to own an electric car, how you can charge it for nothing if you've got solar panels and somewhere off the street to park it. All those things are really developing, because that wasn't even discussed when the first Leaf came out, but they are now doing packages where you can buy from Nissan solar panels, an inverter, a battery in your house, and a car charger for your car. Oh my God, okay. It took me a while to get this right, but I've just turned on ProPilot, which is the other thing that this car is fitted with, which is kind of like autopilot in a Tesla. It basically keeps you in your lane and it keeps you at a set speed. So it's like adaptive cruise control, but clearly it does keep you in your lane. I mean, it's very strict about keeping your hands on the wheel, but I am actually not steering at the moment. The car is doing it completely on its own. And they're very proud of this. Now, this is nothing spectacularly new. Tesla have been, they've utilised autopilot for quite a few years now. I use it all the time. But look, when I'm not holding the steering wheel, it's telling me off. It's flashing warnings and doing that. So you have to have your hands on the wheel. But I'm actually not controlling the vehicle. I am just letting it drive itself. In a Leaf, this only works on the equivalent of a motorway or a freeway, where they're a multi-lane road. It's not meant for minor roads or side streets. But certainly it's very nice. Now we're approaching a truck in front of us and we are slowing down, which is really good. So it's keeping me, I don't know what the distance is, but quite a good distance from the vehicle in front. And it will brake really, if the truck in front was to do an emergency brake, this would stop before I had time to react. That sort of stuff they've got really down. It's warning me again to hold the steering wheel. Sorry! Now this is going to be interesting. Is this driver going to pull out in front of me? Yes, they are. And will I slow down? I've got my foot over the brake just in case. I know, it dealt with that really well. So a couple of cars pulled out from turning onto the freeway and kind of jostled in front of me, and the car pulled back, slowed down and let them go. So it was aware of their presence, which is very good. So I haven't touched a pedal now for probably 5 kilometers. I'm in a very fortunate position, having experienced Tesla Autopilot a great deal, which has improved in the time I've used it. A couple of years I've been using that. This is bloody close, and you know, this is really, really much better than I expected. So I've driven now about 20 kilometers uphill, literally constantly uphill. I've been using the e-pedal, as Nissan call it, so I've only been using one pedal. I haven't touched the brake, even doing a hill start. So I had to do a hill start at a roundabout, which was busy in a little town just back there. You know, drive up to it, take your foot off the throttle, it stops at the roundabout, it doesn't roll back. You don't have to do a hill start. What an archaic concept that is. And then when you're ready to go, you just put your foot on the throttle and off you go again. And it's that simple. It's such an easy vehicle to drive. So we just got to our halfway point. I've done 66.2 kilometers and we've used 57% of the battery, which is not a good sign. But we've climbed from sea level to 2,800 meters. And the last bit, there was a bit of downhill and it's basically stayed at about 43% for the last 5 kilometers. So what's really exciting now is going back down the mountain. I know it's a little thing, it's a little pleasure, but allow me that. So we're going to have a quick bite of lunch and we're going to go back down the mountain, which is very exciting. So we've just had a little bit of lunch, very nice, thank you Nissan, and I'm heading back now. We have 41% in the battery now, and it's estimating I have 83 kilometres of range. Fine, except where we're going is 90 kilometres away. Range anxiety, but we are, I have to correct myself, I think I said 2,800 metres. That's the top of that. We're at 2,000 metres above sea level, which is where we started. So we've got to drop 2,000 metres. So here's a couple of other things I've learnt about the Leaf. The NEDC range figure for this car is 230 miles or something. And everyone knows now that the NEDC range or the NEDC MPG is completely spurious nonsense. No one can ever achieve it. They are tested on rolling roads, in static air, on flat ground. You know, it's like stupid. You know, what about if you drive up a hill and it's raining? And, you know, and your diesel does 65 miles per gallon? No, it doesn't. But now there's WLTP, which is Worldwide Light Vehicle Testing, which is way more realistic. So the WLTP range for this car is 168 miles. And like on driving like I am now, out of a city, and it's just over 200 miles in a city. So if you're doing slow driving in slow moving traffic, then it's over 200 miles. Johnny Smith reviewed this car really well, and all the interior and what it's like and the packaging and the design, and he's really good at all that. I can't do any of that.
I believe the boot of this is 435 litres to the old car's 370. So if you look in it, this is a big boot. This is a big boot. This is bigger than the e-Golf. This is bigger than the old Leaf. This is a big boot. It's not a flat entry boot. It's still got quite a trough. It's still quite narrow, but nevertheless, there's a lot of stuff you can fit in here.
And that's because they've managed to move the charging electronics, the charging control system, which was in a big sort of slabby box it sort of inside the boot, which took up quite a lot of space. They've moved that and they've repackaged it. They've shrunk it down. It's smaller and it's not in the boot anymore. And that means you've got a lot more space. So it's got a really big boot. It's got much more room, as you saw on Johnny's review. And if you haven't seen Johnny's review of Nissan Leaf when he drove it in Tokyo, have a look. So this car has 12 sonar sensors around it and 5 cameras around it. And when you are parking and you're reversing and all that, you not only see the view out the back, but you see the view all around you from a bird's eye view of where the car is. So you can see if there's anyone near you. I just reversed in a really busy, crowded car park with people around, photographers taking pictures, and And, you know, I wouldn't have knocked anyone down if I didn't have that, but that made it so easy. I could see them. I could actually see them on the ground, and I could see their shadows. And they're all standard, so that is in the standard car. So the more expensive models have leather seats, have a better sound system. This has a Bose sound system. I think that costs more. All those little bits and bobs are extra, but the basic car has all those features. It has ProPilot, it has e-pedal, you know, comes as a standard in the car, which is really good. So it's actually a really high spec car. If you buy a new one of these, the base model, which you would be able to buy for £21,000, it's spec'd to a ridiculously high tech level. Oh yes, one pedal. You've got to have a go. You just have a test drive in one, even if you're not thinking of getting one, because your one pedal will knock your socks off. It's absolutely brilliant. Particularly for going down a windy mountain road. You know, you're constantly, if you were in a petrol car now, you'd be changing down gears, putting your foot on the brake when you come up to a corner. None of that, you just do it with one pedal. Okay, so I'm just doing a quick update on my range anxiety. I'm suffering from massive range anxiety. The range indicator is telling me I've got 76 kilometres of battery range left, and the sat-nav tells me I've got 76 kilometres left to go. So the two things have caught up, the gap has narrowed, but now I've suddenly got to go up a really big hill. Just at the point when I was hoping we were only going down, but now we're going up again. Now we've only got 75 kilometres range according to the car, and we've still got 76 kilometres on the sat-nav. We're doomed! So I've come down the mountain. I'm just now using ProPilot again on this lovely stretch of freeway on Tenerife. And I was kind of a bit about this when I heard about it. And now I'm using it. Now I understand how to use it. Because here's one thing. So at the moment it's doing steering, it's doing everything. It's just keeping the same distance from the car in front. I can increase my top speed. So I've set it at 90 kilometers an hour. We're currently doing 80 because the vehicle in front is doing 80. But I can also press this button here, which took me a moment to find, but I've got it. And then as soon as I do that, steering assist is off. I've now got to steer the car, but I don't have to do anything with my feet. And that is working really, really well. But what is interesting then, so I make sure I'm in the middle of the lane, I put the steering assist back on and it takes over. And now I can feel it steering. It's now adjusting the steering all the time. Warning, and then it'll beep at me. All right, I'm holding it. I'm just teasing it. La, 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 la. And it will start beeping. It's telling me off. And I don't know if it's as good as Tesla Autopilot, because one of the things that Tesla Autopilot can do, I could now, once that car's gone past, I could indicate and it would change lanes and overtake the car in front and get up to the speed you'd set it at, which I do use more than I expected. And this can't do that. This stays in the lane you're in, and that's all it does. But that's pretty good in a car that costs 50 to 60,000 pounds less than a Tesla. That's pretty impressive. You know, up to 100,000 pounds cheaper than some Teslas. You know, so it's a really advanced bit of technology that works seemingly. You know, I admit I haven't used it for months, but I've used it quite a lot today. Seems to work really well. So now we've got 29 kilometres remaining in the journey, and we have 147 kilometres of range. So we added an enormous amount of range coming down that hill. It is extraordinary. We drove around 55 kilometres and we added 5% to the battery in that time. That shows that regenerative braking works, and it also shows that if you're in a conventional internal combustion engine and you go up a hill, you use way more fuel than you do on a flat road, and when you go down the hill you use fuel. You don't get any of that. You don't get petrol back. It doesn't suck petrol back out through the exhaust pipe. That's not how they work. And the e-pedal in particular works really well. I didn't touch the brake once until we actually got right down to the bottom at the roundabout. And actually I didn't need to then. It's only because I was a bit hesitant. Now the other thing I learned, which I thought was really clever, and you're absolutely unaware of it as you drive, when you use the e-pedal you say you're doing 40 miles an hour along a road and you come up to a junction, you take your foot off, you slow down, you get very used to how quickly it slows down. It slows down and then it stops at the junction, absolutely dead stop. And I assumed, without even thinking about it, that the regen did all that. Well, the regen does it down to about 5 or 6 miles an hour. There's still a bit of regen resistance. After that, there's nothing. The wheels aren't turning fast enough. The motor isn't spinning fast enough to generate any electricity, and the brakes are applied. It's actually mechanical braking that brings you to an absolute halt, but you are totally unaware of that, and that is really clever. There's not a like you slow down all gently with electro and then it goes and it stops with the brakes. It's just down to a standstill. That is some clever software and clever engineering that's made that possible. Well, there's no question in my mind this is a better Nissan Leaf than the previous Nissan Leaf, and it's one of the best electric cars I've ever driven. It's fantastic. I'm not going to waffle on about it anymore. The thing we didn't do is it parks itself. It has ProPark systems. There's been a lot of people testing that out. We haven't had time. The other thing that is really interesting with this Leaf, and in fact some previous, more recent generations of Leaf, they're already built to be able to do vehicle-to-grid charging, and we're going to be covering that in another episode. So more on that to come, because that is really revolutionary. That thing could run your house for a couple of days. Why not, you may ask? Thank you so much for watching this. Please do subscribe to Fully Charged. Do have a quick look at the Patreon link that's beneath this video. And as always, if you have been from here in sunny, warm Tenerife in January, smug mode, thank you for watching.